But this is the image for the week. The image is explore. And so we're going to kind of enter the conversation today with this idea of what it means to explore. Thank you, Pat.
Okay, is it my turn then?
It is.
Okay, so go ahead and move to the other artwork. There, stop right there. That's perfect. And first of all, welcome, Amy. Good to see you. It's been a long time. And I'll talk. Amy will have. You might be on mute, Amy. Yeah.
Thank you
be there if you say hi. Very good. All right. So remember the last image I showed you indicated a beckoning. There was a hand that was beckoning to walk through a portal. Okay, we're going to go there.
Yeah, I'm just for people who maybe don't remember.
Mm-hmm. All right, good. And so the image there was representing the need to make a change. The leafless twig, you know, not growing anything, and a hand saying, "Come through this door, walk through this door." And okay, now you can scroll back. There we go. So this image represented the being too afraid to make a change, to walk through the door into the unknown, into the uncertain. And so the little figure, again, same one, runs away from that. And she comes across this stone bird and a stone heart. And she stays there for a very long time looking at it because she knows it's teaching her something. So you can scroll down to the next one, Christina. So this would represent sort of the passage of time. She's there, so the light starts turning to darkness, and then go to the next one, which will be the nighttime one. Okay. And she realizes that if she does not make a change, if she does not set out to explore what she doesn't know, then her spirit will turn to stone, her heart will turn to stone. Something in her will die. And so then she says, okay, well, I have to do this. So this reminds me of a story by Clarissa Pinkola Estes in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. And if you've read that, do this. Would you just kind of wave your hand? Thank you. Okay. So you'll recognize the story. I'm going to tell it in a brief fashion. And it's the story of La Loba, the wolf woman, or the woman who collects wolf bones in the desert. And I love the way she describes the woman. She says, of course, she's kind of a, she looks like somebody that lives maybe out of a trailer, and of course she's fat. And you might see her on the side of the road hitchhiking between Phoenix and somewhere else, or you might see her in Oaxaca carrying bundles of sticks on her back, or you might see her driving in a burned out truck with the back window shot out. So you get this picture, right? But she lives up in a cave. And sometimes people that are wandering in the desert come across the cave. And if they do, they're very lucky because they will learn something. What she does is she spends her days going out onto the desert floor and collecting the bones of little animals. But her favorite bones are the bones of wolves. And she collects them and arranges them on the floor of her cave until every single bone of a wolf has been placed. Every single last one. And when that happens, even down to the tiniest end of the tailbone, when that happens, she begins to sing over the bones. And she sings until she sees the flesh grow back on. She sees the fur start to show up. She sees the paws begin to develop and the tail begins to wag. And then the paws begin to move. And then the wolf begins to breathe. And as she does this, she sings louder and louder and so thunderously that the cave walls begin to shake. And then at some point, the wolf is fully enlivened. It jumps up, runs out of the cave, down to the valley, down to the desert floor, and across a river. And because maybe it's the way the moonlight is shining on the wolf, it appears that the wolf turns into a woman who was running and laughing, and her hair is the color red and brown and blonde and gray and all the colors that hair could be. And so in telling this story, Clarissa talks about how there are always times in our lives we get to where we feel as though we need the bones of our soul need to be enlivened. And so she says, well, what are the bones? And what are the bones? The bones are the part of us that is really indestructible. And the part of us that is the essence, the intrinsic, the instinctive part of who we are, the wild part of who we are that sometimes gets squeezed out by expectations, by a way of life, by what culture says we can or can't do. Remembering Ruth Bader Ginsburg here. Thank you, Ruth. And so she says, we need to sing over our bones, and how do we do that? And for each person, it might be different. And she talks about how women, for whatever reason, many of them like to get their fingers into the muck, into the mulchy muck of the dirt and grow things. Lynn, that would be you. Or maybe somebody more like myself who needs to get those mucky, gooey things with beautiful colors in them called paint, and to create something with that. And so what for me, singing over the bones for me right now is I had the luck of my family members asking me to make ocean paintings for them because they had all grown up near the ocean and they weren't necessarily living near the ocean now. And the ocean was what enlivened their spirit. And it was, in fact, what they called their church. As surfers sitting out on the ocean and the undulation just of the water itself and the waiting. And it wasn't so much, of course, catching the wave, big deal, yes, especially if you got a tube, right? but mostly just being there and that closeness to nature. So when they asked me to do these paintings, I walked up and down the beach every day because I needed to observe. And I began to see what I'd never seen before. I began to see the different colors. The different colors of blue. There's ultramarine blue, there was gray blue, there was lavender blue, believe it or not, right as the wave comes toward the shore before it thins out into that frothy, almost not there-ness. There is a lavender color. I never knew that. And I had to observe how, I took video so I could see how the receding water met the oncoming water and forced this wave into this curl, and to watch how in the breaking of the wave, it, instead of one smooth kind of wash of white frothy stuff, it really was in clumps. I never knew that before either. So every time I go down to the ocean now and walk the beach, it's a different place. I'm changed because of having done that. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Denise Kester, who lives in Ashland, and I know Kristen is because she knows her. She has a wonderful video on her website right now called Things to Remember, and she's speaking to artists, but it applies to everybody. And one of the things she says is, what you create creates you. What you are willing to stretch toward is willing to stretch toward you. And then I want to add to that, what you explore explores you. I don't even want to define that because somehow that just needs to live in there. But when Amy is a new visitor today, and I'm going to ask her when we open this up to conversation for her to tell her story too. There are many stories to tell today. because she has a story of this very nature. Isn't that right, Amy? Of finding a way to sing over the bones, right?
Yeah, no,
And
yeah,
yes,
I thought when you first introduced the topic for the day, I mean, everything is just like, I'm furiously writing all this down because it's like resonating so much.
yes, yes. And when we open it up to conversation, I'm going to, of course, I don't know, can you see, can anybody see this? Because I don't even see myself on the screen right now. You can. The Explorer's Journal that she wrote and her set of cards for taking on your journey with you. Really want you to know about it because it will change your life. So there we go. What you explore explores you, and the necessity of singing over the bones of our spirits when they start feeling desiccated and they need some juice. What do we do to put juice there? You know. So exploring to me is being open to exposure, being open to being in a state of awe, being open to being surprised, being open to challenge, I guess, being open to the things that we are afraid of and being willing to look at it, just look, you know. So that's it for me. Now, Lynn, Amy, this is the people that are our little first part here is myself, my sister Lynn, and my niece Christina. So Lynn is next.
Thank you, Pat. Oh, so.
And I'm going to ask everyone if you could put your mics on mute, just unless just I'm hearing some feedback. That's all, just for the recording. Thank you. Go ahead, Mommy.